of our turning point, let's say family, but I want you guys all to see the Medal of Freedom and be able to look at it in the back of it. You guys are all part of the legacy. And on the back, it's the first and last time I'll put a cross on it. Yeah, you just. I literally will stand here so all of you guys. Like I'm not. I don't care. Everyone can have their moment and see. Yeah, where's that?
Thank you.
Look at this. Freeze it. Frame 14. That smile's too wide for someone who just lost everything. Rewind 2 seconds. The metal glints, the crowd gasps. And Ilara Knoxnell, the widow of firebrand commentator Chase Knox, tilts the medallion like it's a trophy she earned, not a legacy she inherited. People watched this clip and felt a chill slide down their spine. Something's off. Way off. And when a top body language analyst dissected it frame by frame, the verdict landed like a punch. This isn't grief. This is choreography. Enter Jace Rowan, the world's most watched long-form podcaster, the guy who calls out nonsense and makes the internet stop mid-scroll. He saw the same footage and said the words nobody dared to say out loud. None of this makes sense, because if you've been following the story, you already know what happened on that Stadia public event. A fatal shot, a national shockwave, and yet. Barely days later, Ilara steps into the spotlight, bright-eyed, steady-voiced, and elated. Why does every angle of this feel like a performance? Here's where it gets unnerving. We didn't just get one expert breakdown. We got several. Micro-expressions flagged, gesture clusters cataloged, stress tells mapped like highways. The analysis was brutal. A genuine widow's grief follows a pattern disorganization, flat effect, abrupt overwhelm. Ilara's tape. Symmetric smiles, calibrated movements. Even a textbook Duchenne kind of smile. You're not supposed to be able to fake blossoming as she promises to carry the mission forward. As if tragedy were a launch pad. But this isn't just about a smile. It's about a timeline that moves too fast, a tone that sounds too polished, and a set of coincidences that pile up until they stop feeling like coincidences at all. The more you look, the more the story frays, the strange witness, the impossible logistics, the neatly tied-off leads. And in the middle of that chaos, Ilara, beaming, like the storm somehow belongs to her. Is this resilience or a reveal? Is this shock or strategy? Stay where you are, because in the next minutes, we're unpacking the moment the mask slips. The expert's chilling tells, and the detail Jace Rowan says will make you question every official explanation you've heard so far to understand why this footage of Ilara Knox has the entire internet spiraling into conspiracy theories and psychoanalysis threads. We need to rewind to before the flashes, before the chaos, before the incident heard around the world. Because none of it makes sense unless you understand who Ilara and Chase Knox were, what they stood for, and how their story went from power couple of the modern conservative world to the strangest, coldest aftermath anyone's ever seen. Chase Knox wasn't just another talking head. He was a movement. Founder of Frontline Network, a fiery, crowd-pulling media brand that mixed political commentary with influencer culture. His voice filled stadiums. His debates set social media on fire. The guy had millions of followers who didn't just agree with him, they worshipped him. Clips of him challenging professors or walking off hostile interviews went viral weekly. Love him or hate him, he owned the algorithm. And then there was Ella Ray's photogenic, articulate, and relentlessly positive wife. She wasn't just his partner in life, she was his PR secret weapon. Every interview, Every speaking engagement, she stood just behind him, smiling, nodding, making eye contact with the cameras like she knew exactly where to look. They branded themselves as unshakable, faith-driven, family-first, uncorruptible. In a digital landscape full of scandals, they looked untouchable. But behind the filtered posts and neatly trimmed podcasts, insiders whispered about cracks in that perfection. Former staffers claimed Ilara was the real strategist, the shadow CEO. They said she approved every partnership, negotiated every deal, and sometimes even rewrote Chase's talking points moments before he went live. One former assistant anonymous, of course, told a small blog, Chase was the face. Ilara was the machinery. Still, the public didn't see that. What they saw was unity. Until the night everything exploded. It happened at a front-line, live Tapia convention-sized event with over 5,000 attendees, broadcast to millions. Chase was mid-sentence, mid-rant, when chaos broke out. The cameras cut. The live stream ended. What happened next was pieced together from shaky phone footage, panicked voices, and later, police reports. Chase Knox gone instantly. In the hours that followed, confusion reigned. Witnesses contradicted each other. Some swore they saw a man running from the balcony. Others claimed a woman fainted near the stage and was quietly escorted out by security. And within 2 hours, the official statement dropped. Lone suspect apprehended. Case under investigation, but to Jace Rowan, that was the first red flag. On his podcast, Under the Mic, Jace spent years analyzing the unanalyzable, conspiracies, scandals, and cover-ups. He was known for cutting through noise, for asking questions no one wanted to ask. So when he played back the footage of Ilara, just 3 days later, smiling, radiant, talking about continuing Chase's mission, he froze. Either this woman's an emotional anomaly, he said, voice low and serious, or she's part of something we don't understand yet. That clip alone racked up 12 million views in 48 hours. But what really sent the story nuclear was what came next. Viewers began splicing footage from Ilara's older appearances beside her recent interviews. The difference was jarring. Before, she's playful, expressive, often leaning toward Chase, laughing at his jokes. After rigid posture, precise hand movements, eye contact locked dead center on the lens. It was like watching a performer switch scripts. Then came the body language experts. Not internet wannabes, actual analysts with credentials. Invited by news outlets to interpret the strange calm of Ilara Knox. One of them, Dr. Mirabelle Grantbetter, known online as Dr. G, gave an interview that would fuel weeks of speculation. Dr. G explained something the internet had never heard of before: micro-residual affect. It's the subconscious carryover of genuine emotion. In people experiencing grief, it's visible in the smallest muscles. The corners of the mouth droop. Eyelids flicker inconsistently. Posture collapses inward. In Ilara's interviews, none of those signals appeared. Her smile symmetry was perfect. Her pupils stayed steady. Her pitch control was precise. She doesn't look like someone repressing grief, Dr. G said. She looks like someone managing a message. That single sentence flipped the narrative upside down. Was Ilara heartless, or was she being strategic? At first, fans defended her. They said she was just strong, that she was honoring Chase by staying composed. But then someone leaked an internal frontline email allegedly sent by Ilara herself just 36 hours after the event. The subject line: transition plan. The body of the email talked about maintaining momentum, preserving sponsors, and preparing the team for a new chapter. The words that jumped out: momentum and new chapter. People lost their minds. Forums exploded with threads titled "She Planned This" and "Happy Widow Syndrome." The timing looked terrible. Even Ilara's own supporters started to falter. And when a second email surfaced a memo about launching Legacy Season 1 of Chase's show under her hosting, it felt like the final straw. But the strangest part wasn't the email. It was the tone. She didn't write like a mourning wife. She wrote like an executive, clean, efficient, emotionally neutral. And then, just as the world started picking Sizella made her first big public appearance. It wasn't a memorial. It wasn't a vigil. It was a press event announcing she'd be stepping into Chase's role as CEO of Frontline Network. The banners literally read, "The mission continues." She took the stage to standing ovations, lights blazing, music swelling. Cameras zoomed in as she held up Chase's Medal of Freedom, smiling like she'd just clinched a deal. The clip that would later go viral, her turning to the camera, saying, "We are blessed to have more work than we could ever dream of." People gasped. Comment sections exploded with accusations. Is she even sad? This looks rehearsed. No tears, just branding. And yet, through it all, Ilara stayed composed to really composed. When asked by a journalist how she was coping, she smiled softly and said, "Grief and purpose can coexist." It was the kind of line that sounds profound until you realize how perfectly it fits a marketing slogan. Behind the scenes, Jace Rowan was taking notes. He started assembling his timeline, comparing public records, leaks, and security footage. He didn't come out and accuse anyone, not yet, but the tone of his voice changed. You could hear it in his next episode. "There's something deeply wrong with this story," he said. "The timeline doesn't line up. The footage doesn't match. And the widow. She's either in shock or she's in control." And that's when everything shifted. Because after Jace's episode, the algorithm took over. Clips of Ilara's smile moments flooded TikTok. Every blink, every gesture, every laugh dissected in slow motion. Viewers stitched side-by-side comparisons. Ilara at Chase's memorial versus Vanessa Lane at her husband's. The contrast was brutal, one raw and tearful. The other radiant and poised by week's end. Hashtags like #HappyWidow and #ELARAacting had millions of views. Commenters debated whether her smile was rehearsed confidence or something darker. And then came the whispers. Former Frontline employees, anonymous Reddit posts. Even alleged leaks claiming Ilara had plans for months, plans that somehow aligned perfectly with Chase's sudden disappearance. Coincidence? Or choreography? Because the more you look at this story, the more one question keeps clawing its way to the surface. Was Ilara Knox a grieving widow or the architect of something far more calculated? And that's exactly where the real drama begins. The footage that detonated the internet wasn't supposed to leak. It was taken backstage at the Frontline Network's memorial broadcast, a closed-door rehearsal, not meant for the public. But of course, nothing stays secret when the stakes are this high. Someone uploaded the clip at 3:42 a.m. under a burner account titled Truthbow for Comfort 89. And within hours, it spread across Reddit, Telegram, and Twitter like wildfire. The video opens with Ilara standing center stage in a sleek black dress, not funeral black, but photo op black. The set behind her glows with warm gold lighting and a giant image of Chase's face projected across the screen. Crew members mill around, testing lights, calibrating mics. And then you hear it. "Make sure we get the slow zoom when I mention legacy," she says those words. That tone. It wasn't grief, it was direction. Control, the kind of precision you hear from a producer. Not a widow rehearsing for a eulogy. When that clip hit the internet, the reaction was nuclear. Hashtags trended globally within hours. #LegacyZoom, #ELARAexposed, #SmileGate. It wasn't just social media that erupted, mainstream outlets picked it up. Daily Times, Echo Wire. Even The Verge ran stories with headlines like, "Behind the Smile, Why Alara Knox's grief looks too perfect. But it wasn't until Jace Rowan dedicated an emergency episode of Under the Mic that the situation reached critical mass. The episode, titled The Widow's Script, began with Jace's now famous line, "When grief becomes content. You're not mourning, you're monetizing." From there, he ripped the timeline apart piece by piece. He replayed the leaked clip, slowed down the audio, zoomed into her expression, and compared her micro-movements to archived footage of other widows giving eulogies. He even brought on Dr. G, the same body language expert who first analyzed Ilara's interviews, and that's where things went from weird to downright sinister. Dr. G confirmed something chilling the moment Ilara said the word legacy. Her eyes narrowed and her shoulders rolled back, a subconscious posture called claiming territory. It's something CEOs and politicians do when asserting dominance. You don't do that while reliving trauma, Dr. G said. You do that when you're preparing to own the narrative. She paused before dropping the bombshell. If this woman didn't know she was being recorded, then this body language isn't grief, it's rehearsal. Jace went silent for almost 10 seconds before muttering, "Holy hell." That 10-second pause would become one of the most replayed moments in podcast history. After that, it was like a digital avalanche. Reddit threads lit up with speculation. Some people believed Alara had been preparing her rebrand long before the tragedy. Others dug up her old motivational speeches, pointing out eerily similar phrases. Carrying the torch, new chapters, turning pain into purpose. Fans began calling her the widow influencer, half in jest, half in accusation. But then came the first real twist, something that would fracture the story in half and make people start whispering the unthinkable. 2 days after the Widow's Script episode aired, a new set of files leaked from an anonymous Dropbox link shared on encrypted forums. The folder was titled Project Phoenix. Inside were emails, spreadsheets, and what looked like a pitch deck. The sender? None other than Alara Knox. The timestamps? 3 weeks before Chase's death. The contents? Plans for a brand relaunch of Frontline Network under new leadership. Her leadership, the documents were meticulous budget projections, new show formats, even potential sponsor partnerships. One slide literally read, "Post-event transition plan." Nobody could believe it. The screenshots spread like wildfire, spawning hashtags like #PhoenixFiles and #PlannedWidow. Suddenly, what looked like awkward, grieving behavior now looked like motive. Jace brought on another guest, that Nightan ex-Frontline employee who agreed to speak under voice modulation. They claimed the company had been struggling internally, losing major sponsors, and that Chase had been resisting a content modernization plan Alara wanted to roll out. According to them, she'd been pushing for a pivot toward lifestyle and personal branding, while Chase wanted to stay political and controversial. Their quote shook the audience. Chase told us straight up, "Over my dead body, will this become an influencer platform?" You could feel the silence through the headphones. Now, people weren't just suspicious. They were terrified of what it implied. Alara's entire public image flipped overnight. She went from the brave widow to the suspected mastermind of her husband's empire shift. Memes flooded the internet, one showing her smiling with the caption, "Mission accomplished." Another depicting her holding the Medal of Freedom like a golden trophy, underlined by the text "Legacy secured." And while everyone was debating, Jace received a DM from an anonymous account claiming to have unseen security footage from the Frontline event. The message read only, "You were right." She wasn't crying backstage. She was signing. Jace opened the link and froze. The footage showed Alara minutes before taking the stage after the incident, huddled with 2 security guards signing what looked like a document. The camera angle was grainy, the audio muffled, but one phrase was barely audible. "We move forward tonight." forward. That word again. And then came the line that stopped everyone cold. One of the guards, visible only in profile, leans closer and asks, "Are you sure about this?" Ilara nods. He'd want it this way. Cue collective shudder. When Jace played that clip on under the mic, you could hear him struggle to breathe. What does that even mean? What's she moving forward with? A show? A business? A plan? That episode hit 40 million views in 72 hours. From that moment, the internet wasn't asking if Ilara was lying, it was asking how much. But here's where things take another strange turn. Because while the world was busy painting her as the villain, Ilara started doing something nobody expected, leaning into it, instead of denying the allegations. She posted a video titled, "Yes, I'm Smiling." In it, she said, "They call me the Happy Widow. Fine, maybe I am. Because my husband died fighting for something bigger than himself, and I refuse to die with him." The video was cinematic soft lighting, somber piano music, perfect framing. It felt more like an ad than a confession. Critics called it narcissistic. Her followers called it inspiring. But the real kicker? That video dropped on the same day that investigators confirmed the existence of a second suspect at the event, a person of interest. Never publicly identified, and guess who supposedly recognized that person? Ilara Knox. She told police she saw a man in the crowd who didn't belong. That detail wasn't in the first report. It appeared after the backlash against her began. Convenient timing, right? Jace caught that too. In his next stream, he raised a theory that broke Twitter for an entire weekend. If Ilara's so controlled, so strategic, what if this whole performance isn't guilt, it's misdirection? He suggested that maybe Ilara was overacting the weird widow role on purpose to keep attention off something else. Maybe the Phoenix documents weren't about murder or conspiracy, but about a cover-up, a financial scandal, or something buried even deeper inside Frontline Network. But if that's true, why would she need to rehearse her grief? Why orchestrate a press event 3 days after a tragedy? That's when the third clip leaked, what fans now call the laugh. In this one, taken after a press interview, Ilara finishes answering a reporter's question about Chase's sacrifice. The camera's still rolling as she turns to an aide, smirks, and says under her breath, "We really pulled it off. You can barely hear it." The audio's grainy, but once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Some say she was referring to pulling off the event under difficult circumstances. Others swear it was a Freudian slip, a glimpse behind the mask. And suddenly, the narrative snapped. No one knew what to believe anymore. Was Ilara Knox a widow in shocking, overcomposed woman trying to survive in the spotlight? Or was she an orchestrator, smiling through the chaos because she'd finally seized control of everything she'd ever wanted? And why was the one man asking all the right questions, Jace Rowan, about to find himself at the center of something even darker? Because the next leak wouldn't be about Ilara, it would be about him. By the time Jace Rowan's exposes had taken over the internet, the story of Ilara Knox had mutated from a tragedy into an obsession. Every hour brought new leaks, new evidence, new frame-by-frame breakdowns from self-proclaimed investigators on TikTok. But in the middle of all this chaos, right when the public was demanding answers, something unexpected happened. Jace went silent. For 2 days, his podcast feed went dark. No tweets, no live streams, no next episode preview. His team said he was taking time to verify sensitive material. That statement alone triggered another wave of paranoia. What material? Who sent it? And why now? Then, at 8 p.m. on a Thursday, his YouTube channel went live without warning. Over 400,000 people tuned in instantly. The title was simple: The File That Changes Everything. He looked different, tired, pale, serious. No intro music, no jokes, just a single line before he pressed play on a video. line before he pressed play on a video. What you're about to see was never meant to be seen. The footage opened with a static-filled security angle from a private conference room at Frontline. Network HQ timestamped 2 weeks before Chase's death. The camera showed Chase, Alara, and 2 other executives sitting around a table. Chase looked angry, gesturing wildly. You could make out fragments of his voice. ... not selling out. ... brand suicide. ... this isn't what we built. Then Alara's voice steady, cold. It's evolution, Chase. You can't keep screaming into the void forever. He slams his hands on the table. You're turning it into a lifestyle blog. She leans forward, calm, unblinking. I'm saving it. And then, in the faintest whisper picked up only after Jace enhanced the audio, Alara says something that freezes the room. If you can't evolve, someone else will. The screen goes black. JAC sits there for a moment, breathing hard. That, he says, voice trembling, was recorded 2 weeks before the so-called tragedy. You tell me that doesn't sound like a threat. The chat explodes. Thousands of comments flood the screen. She said it. This is motive. How the hell did he get this footage? But before Jace can continue, something strange happens. His stream glitches, cuts to black for a split second, then resumes. He looks startled, glances off camera, then ends the stream abruptly. Within minutes, the video disappears from his channel. Gone. Wiped. Then, chaos. A backup copy begins circulating on Reddit, and Telegram mirrors popping up faster than takedowns can happen. Within hours, if you can't evolve becomes the internet's new obsession. People remix it, analyze it, turn it into reaction videos, even auto-tune it into a viral TikTok sound. Every clip ends the same way, with Alara's face frozen mid-sentence. Her eyes locked into the camera as if daring the audience to keep digging. But here's where things spiraled. 20-4 hours after Jace's stream vanishes, a post appears on Deepwire site known for publishing insider leaks. The headline reads, Jace Rowan investigated for unauthorized data breach. The article claims federal authorities are looking into how Jace obtained confidential internal surveillance material. It even includes an alleged email exchange between him and an anonymous source known only as EK Liaison. The implication: someone from inside Alara's camp might have leaked the video themselves. And if that's true, why? That's when a new theory emerges, a theory more twisted than anyone expected. Maybe Alara wanted the footage leaked. Think about it. The video doesn't show her committing a crime, shows her being cold, strategic, maybe manipulative, but not guilty. In fact, it reinforces her image as a powerful woman under pressure. The kind of narrative rebrand that sells. Influencers start picking sides. Some call her a sociopath. Others label her the ultimate survivor. Tweets explode like firecrackers. She's the villain we deserve. Alara Knox is redefining grief. Men crumble. Women capitalize. And while all this unfolds, Alara releases a new statement, polished, cinematic. Voice trembling just enough to sound human. People are analyzing my smiles, my tears, my every breath. But what they don't understand is that I've already died once with him. The rest is survival. She pauses, looking straight into the camera. And survival doesn't look how you expect. The internet collectively loses it. Half the population calls her psychotic. The other half calls her a feminist icon. But either way, Lara wins. Every algorithm, every trending page, every headline belongs to her. Meanwhile, Jace isn't done. He reappears 3 days later with another live stream, this time filmed in what looks like a hotel room. His tone is different, paranoid, hurried. He says someone's been following him, that his phone's been wiped twice. that the story is bigger than just Erika. Then he drops the second shocking reveal. The night before Chase died, someone accessed his personal account and transferred $500,000 to an unknown entity listed only as Fion 1X LLC. And guess what? That entity was registered by Erika Knox 6 weeks earlier. He shows the receipts, redacted bank records, incorporation documents, even screenshots of internal messages between Erika and the frontline accountant. The messages are vague but eerie. Finalize Fion's assets before Sunday. Keep it quiet. He can't know yet. It's enough to send social media into meltdown again. Was this Project Phoenix a business pivotor, a setup? But before Jace can elaborate further, his stream is cut. Mid-sentence. Black screen. For 30 seconds, nothing. Then a single image flashes, a pixelated version of the Frontline Network logo, followed by text, "Evolution is inevitable." Viewers think it's a glitch. Others call it a threat. Minutes later, Jace's Twitter and Instagram vanish. Deleted, all posts gone. His YouTube videos begin disappearing one by one, replaced with a single pinned comment from his official account: "We evolve or we end." Now the internet isn't sure what's real anymore. Conspiracy threads explode across Reddit. Did Erika silence him? Was Jace working with her all along? Did the Project Phoenix files predict his disappearance? Anonymous accounts claiming to be ex-Frontline employees begin dropping cryptic hints. One says, "You don't expose evolution. You become it." Another claims Jace had been offered a consulting contract by Frontline just before he vanished. Then, out of nowhere, Erika posts a photo to Instagram, her first since the chaos. The caption: "The truth doesn't need defending. It just needs time." She's wearing the same dress from the memorial. Same smile. Same medal. The photo gains 5 million likes in 2 hours. Comments range from "Queen of Composure" to "You terrify me." But the final twist of this section comes in the form of one quiet Reddit comment that surfaces under a thread dissecting Jace's disappearance. The username is Evolve Witness, created just that day. The comment reads, "He's not gone. He's with her." Within minutes, the account is deleted. Now, the internet doesn't know what to believe. Was Jace Silent Store recruited? Was Project Phoenix just a business expansion or a cover for something far more sinister? Because one thing is clear: every time someone gets close to uncovering the truth about Erika Knox, they vanish, and as the lines between victim, villain, and visionary blur beyond recognition, the world starts to wonder, maybe the real story isn't about what she's hiding, but about what she's becoming by the time the Jace Rowan disappearance rumors hit mainstream coverage. The Erika Knox story had transcended mere gossip, had become a cultural obsession. What started as a bizarre widow analysis had morphed into a full-blown digital war zone, where everyone, from entertainment journalists to psychologists to anonymous hackers, had a theory. Social media was a battlefield. The hashtags #ELARA-Truth, #Project Phoenix, and #WhereIsJace trended for weeks. TikTok users were posting side-by-side comparisons of Erika's interviews, trying to decode her eye movements. Twitter was a madhouse of threads claiming secret messages were hidden in her captions. Reddit went feral, treating every new leak like a classified drop from some dystopian government. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly: "We're not watching a widow grieve, we're watching a queen ascend." And maybe that's what terrified people most. Mainstream outlets couldn't ignore it anymore. CNN ran a segment called "The Psychology of the Composed Widow." Fox News called it "The Death of Authenticity." BuzzFeed posted a quiz titled, "Are you an Erika or a Jace?" which, absurdly, got over 3 million completions in one day. But the conversation wasn't just about her behavior anymore. It had become something deeper referendum on the performative age of social media. Dr. Sylvia Hart, a cultural anthropologist, went viral for her brutal assessment. Ilara Knox isn't strange because she's faking grief. She's strange because she's weaponizing it. She's turned tragedy into branding. Meanwhile, PR experts weighed in, marveling at her uncanny ability to steer the narrative. One analyst from Digital Brand Weekly said, "What she's doing is textbook reputation inversion. You don't deny the accusation, you own it, reframe it, and sell it back to the public." And it was working. Her followers doubled. Sponsors returned. Frontline Network's engagement skyrocketed. While people dissected her every gesture for guilt. She was making money off the attention, but then came the celebrity reactions, and that's when everything truly exploded. Reality stars, influencers, and even A-list actors started chiming in. Some mocked her. Some defended her. One viral post from pop icon Nova Steel read, "Everyone says Ilara's heartless. Maybe she's just tired of performing pain for an audience that doesn't actually care." That post alone got 30 million likes, and suddenly, the tide shifted. For the first time, people began sympathizing with Ilara. They called her misunderstood. They said she was being punished for being strong. Influencers began making "I am Ilara" videos, celebrating emotional detachment as empowerment. The aesthetic of resilience went viral. Neutral tones, icy stares, captions like "They expected me to cry. I built an empire instead." And just like that, Ilara Knox went from villain to visionary. Even late-night hosts jumped on it. One joked, "If you want to know how to handle bad press, just ask El Roshi, sell you a course about it." The audience laughed. But the truth was darker. People were starting to admire her. Meanwhile, journalists tried to find Jace Rowan. None succeeded. His channel remained scrubbed, his social handles dormant. But that only made him more legendary. Forums began referring to him as the vanished voice, and some fans claimed he was posting coded. Messages through anonymous audio clips on dark web servers. One clip, allegedly his, contained a distorted whisper. "Evolution isn't an idea. It's a deal." It spread like wildfire. Conspiracy channels claimed it meant he'd joined Ilara's organization. Others said it was fake, generated by AI, but the mystery gave the entire saga new life. Then came the industry's response. Competing media companies began publicly distancing themselves from Ella Rube privately. Executives were studying her strategy. Within weeks, multiple networks launched copycat campaigns centered around trauma to triumph narratives. One insider leaked a memo from a rival channel that literally said, "Study the Ilara model." She turned a scandal into a global conversation. Think about that. A woman accused of faking her husband's death, or at least manipulating the aftermath, had just inspired a new era of marketing strategy. Meanwhile, protest groups formed both for and against her. In Los Angeles, fans gathered outside Frontline headquarters holding signs that read "Justice for Chase" and "Smiles Don't Lie." Across the street, another group waved posters saying "Let her heal her way." Two ideologies clashing in the same intersection, mourning versus monetizing. But the most disturbing reaction came from within the influencer industry itself. Several micro-celebrities started faking their own grief arcs, pretending to lose someone, then posting powerful recovery videos days later, claiming Ilara inspired them. When these hoaxes were exposed, they didn't apologize, they doubled down, saying, "We were just experimenting with authenticity. It was sick." And yet, somehow, it all traced back to her. News outlets started calling it the Ilara effect. One headline captured it best: "When grief becomes a genre." Even the political world took notice. A congressman mentioned her name during a debate about media ethics. A senator tweeted, "The line between personal tragedy and public theater has officially vanished." And through it all, Erika remained silent. No interviews. No press statements. Just one cryptic story post. A black background with white text, "You can't cancel evolution." Within minutes, millions reshared it. It was more than a message, it was a movement. But while the world was obsessing over Erika, strange things were happening behind the scenes. Frontline Network filed for rebranding, dropping network entirely. The new name? Frontline Evolution, their first major broadcast. Under the new brand was announced as a tribute to truth, the promo trailer promised. Never before seen footage, real. Answers and the end of speculation. And the person narrating that trailer, Jace Rowan, his voice undeniable, smooth, confident, calm. Evolution, he said, isn't about survival. It's about control. The internet lost its mind. Was it really him? Was he alive? Working for Erika. The same man who'd called her out was now promoting her new show. Erika posted the trailer with a single caption, "Welcome home." The reactions were immediate and divided. Half the internet screamed traitor on it. Other half called it the greatest comeback in media history. Think about the irony. The investigator who tried to expose her ended up becoming part of her machine. Or maybe that was always the plan. Because if there's one thing we've learned from this story, it's that nothing, absolutely nothing about Erika Knox happens by accident. The night of the Frontline Evolution premiere felt more like a coronation than a broadcast. Flashing lights, red carpets, drones overhead projecting the new Phoenix logo into the clouds. Every camera trained on one woman, Erika Knox. She arrived draped in silver, the medal of freedom glinting at her throat like a seal of ownership. Reporters shouted questions, desperate for a quote about Jace's sudden return, but she didn't answer. She just smiled that same disarming smile, the one that launched 1,000 theories, and walked straight into the studio inside. The atmosphere was electric. Millions tuned in live. The countdown hit 0. The screen faded to black dot, and then Jace Rowan's voice filled the air. "Tonight, we evolve." The crowd erupted. But what came next silenced them instantly. The program began with a montage of old Frontline footage. Chase Knox debating, rallying, smiling, crosscut with Erika's speeches about rebirth and purpose. Up. But midway through, something new appeared. Security footage, boardroom clips, leaked emails, even fragments of Jace's own investigative streams. It wasn't a tribute. It was a confession. The show revealed everything that had fueled the online frenzy, but spun in a way that twisted every accusation into proof of her strength. She narrated over the footage herself, saying, "They called it manipulation. I call it mastery. They said I faked emotion. I say I redefined it." Every frame that had once been evidence now looked deliberate, poetic, as if the chaos had been her plan all along. The audience gasped when the Phoenix files appeared on screen. She didn't deny them. She showcased them. She explained that Project Phoenix was a resilience blueprint, a system designed to teach people how to turn loss into leverage. And then came the shocker. The show revealed that Jace Rowan's investigation, every leak, every episode, even his disappearance had been part of the performance. He stepped on stage live, dressed in black eyes, cold and unreadable. The crowd screamed. "Everything I uncovered," he said, "was meant to be uncovered." He looked at Erika. She smiled back. "You don't expose evolution," she whispered into her mic. "You participate in it." That moment hit like an earthquake. The cameras zoomed in, lights dimmed, and a single phrase appeared on the screen behind them. Evolution is control. Twitter detonated instantly. Some said it was performance art. Others screamed cult. Comment sections exploded with disbelief. But the truth was, nobody could look away. Every person who had accused her, mocked her, doubted her, was now part of the story. She'd flipped the entire internet into her content. Then the lights flickered. The broadcast glitched for a second, showing what looked like corrupted footage. Grainy frames of Chase Knox, alive, speaking into a camera. His words were faint, distorted. Don't let her rewrite it. The feed cut to black. Silence. Viewers went berserk. Forums crashed under traffic. Was that deepfake technology? Real hidden footage. A last message from Chase himself. Nobody knew. Elara returned to the stage, perfectly calm, perfectly smiling. Chase will always be part of this, she said softly. He created the mission. I perfected it. Applause thundered through the studio. The cameras panned across Jace's unreadable face as the credits rolled. And yet, seconds before the stream ended, a final message flashed across the bottom of the screen, almost too fast to notice. Project Genesis begins. 11.11. No one knew what it meant. Some claimed it was a new show. Others swore it was something darker, a recruitment, an expansion, maybe even the start of something global. Within an hour, mysterious countdown sites appeared online. Encrypted forums buzzed with invitations to join the evolution. Influencers began teasing Genesis drops. Anonymous accounts leaked supposed coordinates tied to the number sequence. 11.11.elara stayed silent. Jace disappeared again. But 1 week later, fans noticed something eerie. Chase Knox's old account, deactivated since his death, suddenly posted a single message. Evolution complete. No verification check. No media, just text. The post gained 10 million likes in under an hour before vanishing without a trace. And yet, people swear they saw it. Screenshots flooded the internet. Some claimed it was Elara's doing. Others whispered it wasn't her at all. That maybe, somehow, Chase had one final word left to give. Whatever the truth is. One thing is certain. Elara Knox has rewritten the rulebook on power, grief, and identity. The woman who smiled through her husband's death now controls the world's attention, and she's not letting go. Because evolution doesn't end with survival, it begins when the cameras stop rolling. So now, we're left with a question no one can answer. What really happened to Chase Knox, to Jace Rowan, and to the truth itself? Was this all an orchestrated rise of a media empire disguised as tragedy, or did something far darker take place behind those smiling eyes? The footage, the leaks, the staged comebacks, it all points to one undeniable reality. We've never seen manipulation this sophisticated before. Elara Knox didn't just survive scandals, she engineered it. She didn't just outlast controversy, she weaponized it. And the scariest part, she taught the world how to do it too. But what about you? Because here's the thing, every time you watch, comment, or share, you're not just following the story, you're feeding it. You're part of the cycle she designed. The more you question her, the stronger she gets. The more you doubt her, the more control she has. And that's the genius of it all. She doesn't need to silence you. She just needs you to keep talking. So what do you think? Was Elara Knox a grieving widow who turned pain into power, or a mastermind who used grief as her stage? Was Jace Rowan an investigator who got too close, or an actor in her grand production from the very start? Drop your theories in the comments below. I want to know, who do you believe? The woman who smiles through chaos, or the man who vanished chasing the truth? And remember, this story isn't over. Project Genesis drops on 11.11, and whatever's coming next, it's going to change everything we thought we knew about influence, control, and the price of evolution. Make sure you like this video, share it, and hit subscribe, because when the next revelation hits, you're going to want to be the first to know. Stay alert, stay curious, and never ever trust the smile that comes too soon after tragedy. Because in the